What a lovely day!
Welcome, Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Giuseppe Montesano, Twine to Triangle, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twodwazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flamboyant Telescope, JMels24, Unimento, M926, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Melby Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Leland, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Actually trim something out of there, okay.
Yeah, it was really good. It's talking about the censorship and stuff like that.
Okay.
That
Blind
was-
Man Sounds versus
Found. F-O-N-D. Found.
Wow, we're at DEF CON 3. Found. I just came on, all I heard was Blind Man Sounds. You go, what?
No, he came on yesterday. I don't even know what it was yesterday. Nathan must have been testing, and I never got off G Plus, so I was involved in it. It was mostly Discord there, right?
Yeah, I
Nathan,
think
what-
you were the only one from the G Plus. Everybody left. It was just you, us, Discord, and Nathan was just, I don't know, doing stuff in the house. It wasn't really talking.
You guys ever get out and like do something, or do you stuck on the internet all day long?
You talking to Discord guys?
I'm talking to anybody who's on the Discord or G Plus for the whole day. My goodness,
Well, I was-
don't you have
I
things
was
to
working.
do?
No, I was working.
Yeah, I was
so
just,
I'm in the truck
I
and
was-
driving. It was just on the whole time, and it's hard to say something because my brother's talking to somebody. Then it sounds like we're both talking at the same time.
yeah, I was out for a walk this morning, 10th.
Okay,
And
well,
then-
sometimes there's like a music stations in the car, just a hint.
Can't do anything in the car with my brother. Don't you understand? And if I go to say something, he smacks me. I'm on the phone. And I don't know if he's on the phone because he's got them, the ear things in. So I don't know who he's talking to. Half the time, I think he's talking to me. I don't know. It's just a pain in the neck.
Especially when he smacks you. Nathan, what show is today since you did that one show without me knowing?
1913, I'm going to say.
Okay,
I think.
I'm going to go back. So we have a
Yeah,
video today
1913.
thank you. We have a video today for the live show of Neil deGrasse Tyson. 8 minutes long.
Can I ask a quick question to Nathan?
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. So what were you doing yesterday? It's like you ran the recording, or maybe it was members only, but you were not talking. You were just quiet the whole time. Were you busy?
Playing with
Or you were
voltages.
testing?
Yeah, playing with voltages
okay,
and power limits. So
Okay.
Something occurred to me after reading a little article about people. I always learn what I need to find out from overclockers and then sort of flip whatever they say on its head to make it work for turning things down, if that makes sense. So one of the things that somebody noted when they were undervolting a GPU, I may have mentioned this before, was that they would up the power limits. And somebody in the comments underneath was like, that makes no sense. I'm trying to reduce the amount of power it uses. And they explained that when it's pulling a lower amount of power and a lower amount of voltage, it can just fall over. that's more likely. But if you don't restrict the amount of power, and then you think about it and you go, hey, that kind of makes sense when you think about how the CPU chip works. So it's designed to have unlimited power. It can pull as much as it likes, up to like stupid levels. Like I've seen some people using them and pulling nearly 300 watts from one chip. It's just bonkers. Anyway, when it's unlimited, you can pull as much as you need. But people who are fiddling with these chips would say that they could extremely undervolt them. But obviously they'd leave the power limits unlimited. So they'd undervolt them and seemingly get much more efficiency out of them. Now you go, well, why would they leave the voltage so high? Well, it's probably because when people come along like me and go, well, I can't run it at that power limit, you just turn the limit down. But then you do need to turn the limit of voltage up. So that's what I've slowly been doing. I've been seeing where the limit of, if you do turn the power down, how much that affects the same amount of voltage to the point of instability. And it does. It works in the complete opposite as you'd expect. So if you're turning things up, but trying to get more efficiency. So how can I explain this? If you're trying to get more out of a chip to get it to run faster, you need it to run more efficiently. In other words, you'll lower the voltage and up the power to then try and pump more in and then slowly, incrementally increase the voltage from there, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm just doing that in reverse basically while shows are running. So the best way I found to actually test stability, which makes sense from another gaming overclocker who said the same thing, is like, if you're going to overclock and then run the game that you want to run. They're like, okay, well for me, it's not run a game, although that might be part of it. It's run the show as it would need to be run and then find the point of instability, because it doesn't matter if you find stability in synthetic tests. It means nothing. So I've wasted a shitload of time with synthetic tests, just to find that, well, my problem isn't that at the limit it's going to fall over when it's pulling all the power it can. My problem isn't that. It's when it's pulling a medium amount of power and finds itself in instability territory through lack of power or lack of voltage. So that's what I was fiddling with. And while I was fiddling, I was just listening in the background. I intentionally didn't pipe up at any various points that I could have piped up, because it was a very organic conversation that was taking place, and I was enjoying just listening to it, to be honest. So when I went back to it and listened to the entirety of it this morning, I'm like, wow, there's quite a few bits in this that I could trim out. But the most poignant was the one that Neil just mentioned, which is the blind guy, Blind Spot, saying, this is how I found my way to your show. And, there was no way I'd have just found my way here because I was looking for the subject you cover, heaven forbid. I came from this guy talking about the subject you cover via that guy who doesn't cover the subject but is opposed to you, mentioning you. You're like, wow, you went right around the Wrekin just to find your way here then. Doesn't surprise me at all. We talk about it all the time. But, it's interesting to let an audience member hear how somebody who's made their way actually onto the panel has had a right roundabout route to finding their way onto the show, or even finding it to listen to.
Morning, gentlemen.
All right.
Coincidentally, Nathan, I just heard that little clip, and the guy was very ingenuous. You could tell he pretty much sounded like the way I sound when I first came on and recognized the authenticity of you guys in this panel and this show that stands out from the rest.
Yeah, it's a guy who appreciates what we're actually attempting to do. So where we're like, we don't want to involve ourselves in conjecture and speculation. Why would we? We're already ridiculed, so why start talking about the Jesuits or the ice walls or whatever? No, thanks. That's not for me. I don't really want any more finger pointing for being idiotic by asserting things I can't prove. And the guy basically echoed that by saying, I appreciate the no-nonsense, only debate things that we can prove. When someone comes up with an idea that's disagreeable, you will debate it amongst yourselves to find the finite truth that is in the statements that have been brought up. You're not just regurgitating your own rhetoric over and over. No, we're not. Now, we do intentionally, because we actually have the opposite problem where we go off miles off the tracks, have the housekeeping questions, which are rhetorical, quite literally in nature. And those keep us grounded in terms of being able to stay on track with specific aspects that we've, put a lot of work into and expose. So the housekeeping questions are there for that reason, so that we don't just mindlessly wander into the weeds of debating some minor point that's not really that important. Can't think of an example off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's plenty from recent shows where, you know, motivation is most likely the thing that would come to mind, you know, or feelings. You know, it's like, guys, bloody hell, bloody women talking to my panel when they're like, why does it make you feel like that? Oh,
And props to Neil. He echoed what it was too. He said, "Well, now that you're here, stick around, something like that, because you won't go wrong unless we go wrong." Meaning, if we stick to our guns and stick to what we stand by and stick to the facts and the science and like the, for instance, the stump, the mountain with the stump. I remember you got on me about that when I was bringing up all the things that I bring up that you can't prove. This guy pretty much reinforced and reified everything that this whole show stands for, and the perspective and perception of this show from an honest person from the outside looking in. And I thought that was a great clip.
yeah, I mean, hopefully it's worth the sacrifice, because the people who are like that in our community, obviously we will occasionally cross paths and disagree with them, or challenge them to provide decent evidence. And when it's not forthcoming, you get ridicule from your own community, if you want to call it that, which is saddening, because you're like, you know, live and let live. But if you're going to try and peddle that here proactively to us, then it's going to get ripped apart based on its lack of validity or your lack of evidence for your claims. But then you get called con artists and scammers. But there you go. That's just how it is sometimes in a closely knit community, which is sad from my point of view with the YouTube hat on, because if I'm pleading with my opponent who I'm critiquing to share my video, why is that? Well, it's because, well, while I might labour the point that the algorithm and indeed opponents don't want to support us with their bigger channels when they're responding to us by actually sharing our links to the videos so that people have an easy route to find us if they've searched my name and found Dave McKeegan. So there's a lawnmower right outside. Might have to cut this off.
Yeah, he's funny too, that guy. He had a sense of humor. I think I said something like, you mentioned everybody else but me, because I know, I'm just the everyman. He said, yeah, Neil, everybody is great except you. It's a funny guy. He said, now you're talking.
Yeah, we don't get any internal
point.
support from what is the so-called flat Earth community. We don't get any support from YouTube. We certainly don't get any support from the opponents who were critiquing. I just wanted to get that last statement in with this lawnmower in the background.
Yeah. And was it Humble that coined you as the everyday man, Neil?
No,
I
it was
think that's the
Nathan.
first time I heard it. It was Nathan? Oh, okay.
It was
And
the MC,
basically,
Master of Ceremonies, Nathan Oakley.
Okay. So he knighted
basically,
you, the everyman. Okay. I mean, I don't mean that like laughing as derogatory. I mean, laughing isn't cool.
like Nathan just said, when you step into this octagon, you got to come correct or don't come at all. Because if you come incorrect, whether you're part of the clique or whether you're outside coming in, you're going to be corrected and you're going to be put into an ascension of knowledge where you could take it outside back where you came from, or you could just build from here. But if you don't come correct, it's going to be brought to your attention, and you may take it as being insensitive or being rude, and it depends on how you come out your face. That's how you're going to get that reciprocated response. But at least you're going to come out better. I I'd have to biasly say. I mean, I know I have. Like now, when I talk to the same people I talked to in the past, they pretty much kind of don't even want to go into much of 30 seconds into it because I'm crushing them. And and in the past, I used to go on for hours trying to convince them. Now they're just like, they just have to pretty much concede or just say, I don't want to talk about it no more.
Yeah, the show's great. No doubt about it.
And D-Rose, I concur with you. They don't know their claims. We know their claims better than they do. So when they try to take us on without a full foundation on what the globe claims actually are. I mean, the official ones. It becomes hilariously comical because you almost say, wait a minute, why am I wasting my time talking to you? You don't even know your own claim.
That's true.
Yep. And it's it's humiliating to them, and that's why they get very agitated easily.
They're
Y- y-
embarrassed. They're
You know what?
embarrassed because you know more than they do about their argument.
Right, Ted Man, you know what I like when they say, I'm not claiming that. My son does that to me all the time with the radius of Earth. I never claimed that. I never said that. I said, what are you talking about? That's the circumference of the Earth. Right?
Everything depends on an R value. So there's no way, if you're going to defend the globe, that you can stay away from the R value.
It's funny though when they say, I don't claim that. They're not talking about you, buddy. That's what the
And then like
globe is.
and then like you said, Tim, when you mention the R value in that verbatim, they look at you like you said, "Boinking, boinking." They don't know what you said. They don't even know what the R value is. If
Wait
you
a
ask them,
second.
what's
Do
the
that
R
again.
value? They don't know what you said. You say the R value. Do you know what that is? And they'll look at you like, um, yeah, I know what that is. Explain it. I ain't gotta explain it. The fact of the matter is, and they'll just change the subject.
Yeah, we're in a situation where someone wants us uh, to engage in a conversation. So it's like, well, I tried. It didn't go well 2 times already. Now you want to try a third time? I don't think so. I think I'm going to give you homework. And then you can come back to me after homework and then we can give it a third try. And guess what my homework is, D Rose?
Go on.
All right. Come back to me with the official globe claims. Cite them. Then I'll talk to you. Because it's going to have to involve R. And if it's going to involve R, then it's over with the black swan immediately. So we're going to debunk the globe
I
first. And by default, we're going to have to land somewhere once we know the globe is a lie. So you got to debunk the globe first by getting them to cite you the official globe claims that involves an R value of 3959. Then you go and show them how that doesn't bet out in reality. So it's past its limitation, which means it's not real. So it's over, Jan 2020. Now, okay, so what are we on if we're not on the globe? That's where I want to get them before I even talk flat Earth. So it's all debunking the globe with the citations they bring me. I've tried the other way. I brought them the citations. I've gone to the default position. It doesn't. I mean, it's just not worth the time. It's a headache. I could debunk the globe. Bring me your globe claims, and I'll debunk them. That's where I'm at.
Well, I want to give credit to one person. One person did tell me what they assumed the R value was, and they said rotation, and I just basically walked away from it.
What is this? A rotisserie chicken channel?
Wait a second. Did you say the R value he said was rotation? Wow.
Come on, guys. Let's not be gatekeepers about this.
Yeah, that's what he
What
said. He
gate?
said rotation. Well, no,
Rotation.
no, refracting. You got to understand what I went through prior to asking this person what the R value is. Okay, there was no need to talk to them anymore because they were just cognitive dissonant to the point where I was literally talking to a tree. Might as well have been talking to a tree. And when that answer came out, and it was like an arrogant ignorance, cognitive dissonance. Like, really, you
Okay.
just couldn't tell them. And and of course they'd had more schooling than me. They were a little bit older than me. And when they said rotation, I I bowed my head like, "Have a good day," and I walked off.
Okay.
Good for
I
you.
didn't get the context of like the rest of your conversation with them, because it just sounded
Oh
like you
no,
were walking up and like,
no, no, no.
you know what the R
Oh, I'm
value
sorry,
is?
no,
Yeah, that's
no, no,
something
no, no,
we
no,
all do.
no, no. It was like back and forth about curve not existent, and then back and forth about why is the seasons, all these different things, and what makes you think this, blah blah blah, for about maybe 15-20 minutes. And then when you start getting into the details, as I was building, learning with you guys, and then when I brought up the R value and the 3959, you could tell they didn't know what I was saying, but they was trying to act like, like they were shaking their head, that nod, like, yeah,
Yeah.
So I said, well, you know what I mean by the R value, right? He said, yeah, of course. I said, what is it? He said, rotation. And I just walked away.
I would have said rotisserie chicken.
Oh my God, he's got cognitive dissonance of nothing. You don't even know what he's got cognitive about.
That's a great example, D-Rose, of parroting the mocking flat earthers get, because we're flat earthers by default because the globe is a lie. So the whole point is they mock us on these videos. So these people watch these videos, they run into someone more educated because of FED debates and our stronger arguments. And we ask a very simple question. Well, you believe in the globe, right? You believe, okay, great. So what's the R value? Rotation.
Rotation.
What?
Oh God, I don't think I would have been able
Yeah,
to recover from that. I would have just
yo,
kept
Neil,
laughing.
you can't. All you have to, when you get a response like that, you do, like, you look at the camera. Anybody ever watch The Office? You just look at the camera and then you just walk away. Like those reality tell, it just makes you kind of like, you just look at the camera like, what did he just say? And
Bad
then you
form.
have to walk away because there's no need to go any
Bad
further.
form. Bad form. What you're talking about is a fourth wall break in movie vernacular. That's what you're talking about,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
In
exactly.
theatre, it's called an aside. It's where you literally
Okay.
address the audience. So you break character, you break the suspension of disbelief, and you talk to the audience directly, or break the fourth wall and talk to the camera. I was trained that is a cardinal sin, something you must not do. Same goes for in jokes. Do you know what an in joke is?
No.
Yeah, it's what I usually do when you start the show.
Right, an in joke is where we, as a panel now, have had a discussion about something amusing, and the punchline is X. Now, after the fact, we go live, and then somebody brings up the punchline, and everybody on the panel laughs. But the audience doesn't know what you're talking about because it's only appropriate to you and the panel because you're the ones who've been privy to the conversation. Therefore, in joke. Again, very bad form. Now, I appreciate that The Office and let's think of a movie that does it a lot. Deadpool. Deadpool
Yeah,
A
does it
lot
a
of
lot.
Deadpool.
shows do it now.
People
A lot of
admire it
shows.
initially, but then it gets very boring very quickly. But
Didn't
it's bad form.
Ferris
Just so you know.
Bueller's Day Off do that?
Absolutely.
Say again, 10th?
Ferris Bueller's Day Off, didn't he do that in that movie? That's
Yes.
an old movie, though.
Yes. There's all sorts of movies that have fourth wall breaks, but I'm just saying, when I trained as an actor, we were trained as actors that was very bad form, that you should not do that.
Well, we just had an in joke with the R value because nobody explicitly said what the R value actually is and why it's such a big deal.
Correct. Because we're not live, I'm not going to pull anybody on anything like that. It's a warm up, right? Everyone's getting warmed up. So it's different. That's why when the blind guy yesterday, the blind spot, was talking about how it seemed, if he's obviously come across the Uncut and After show first, I can appreciate how you go, oh, this doesn't quite make sense contextually. It's a load of guys talking about nothing. Then you break into a live show, and then it's really super focused on a response video with reactions, and then you kind of have this wind down afterwards. It takes a bit to get, well, yeah, okay, so he's come to an Uncut and After show before a live show. Fair enough. But when we're in the live show, it's me being seemingly pedantic all the time. No, we must contextualize this.
So let me ask. So is that so? Do you think that these comedic sitcoms and these reality movies, or trying to do that fourth wall, as you call it, are they being disrespectful to the art of drama, or whether intentionally or inadvertently, is it is that the reason why they're doing it because they know that they're trying to make it more like reality television, or what's their motive for doing this? Is it comedic, or
Well,
is it disrespectful to
I
the
think you
art
got it right with The
drama?
Office. So when you said it's trying to make it seem more like reality TV, yes, that's the motivation behind doing it in The Office, so that it's so you feel like you're the fly on the wall, but now the person you're watching is interacting with you as a fly. That's what it achieves. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate how breaking rules is what makes good material. The rules aren't. They're not. It's not like they're there to be broken, but by breaking them, often you'll achieve something magical. So I'm not saying that it's wrong to do it, but by knowing that it's wrong is when somebody who's good at doing things like that, production or as an artist or an actor, they know that they're breaking a rule, so therefore they respect how they're going to break it and think about it in a way that will be successful. Do you see what I mean? But if you're unaware that in jokes and fourth wall breaks are, I don't want to say taboo, they're just not what you'd be trained to do. You'd be trained to do something very different to that. So therefore, when he does it, he knows he's breaking a rule and taking more caution in terms of how he does it, and he's giving it more thought in terms of how it's presented, because it could easily backfire. You're not. There's a reason you trained it's bad form. Because if you're trying to suspend someone's disbelief about you being a war veteran, and suddenly you're interacting with a 21st century audience, and literally talking to them directly, do they still continue to believe that you're that war hero who's about to throw? No, they don't, because you've broken all of the suspension of disbelief that you built with your character up until that point. So there's a reason it's taught as bad form.
I can comment on this. My daughter was in musical theater, and we would go to several shows, especially the last one. So the form and the character had to be spot on throughout all the performances, except at the last showing, the leader of it would say, "Okay, you have liberty to do now what you want," and they would go off lines. They would do whatever, and of course, we've seen so many of them when they did it right that we would laugh with them because we knew what they were doing.
Maybe.
No, I mean,
Again,
I witnessed this.
I was certainly
I'm
not
not.
taught that on closing night you'd be anything other than the most professional you'd been all season. But there we go. That's just how I was taught.
Okay, so
Well,
Nathan,
you didn't have a
do
liberal teacher.
Well, it's
so
not that
so
we didn't have.
Nathan, you opened up the Pandora box. Now that you've told me that you've taken up drama, trained, I would say. I don't know how many theatrical plays you've been in. Could you please, with your accent, do some Othello?
Do some what?
Othello, or some Shakespeare, in that same voice you have. Just
You,
recite some
let me get
lines.
this straight. Because I've trained as an actor, you think I can break out a bit of Shakespeare iambic pentameter off the top of my head? And no, I can't.
What?
Possibly 20 years ago, yes, I was doing monologues and dialogues in Shakespearean iambic pentameter quite frequently, and I've been in Shakespearean plays. But could I rattle off any of it now? No, not that it would be in any way convincing or sound good or make sense.
speaking of
D-Rose, D-Rose,
Shakespeare,
I'm sorry, John. D-Rose, it's to be or not to be,
Yes,
so it's not going to happen.
yeah, I
exactly.
had to memorize the entire Cassius speech in 2 days the past 10th grade English because I'd goofed off in that class so much. That was horrible. Don't read any Shakespeare.
Anyway, even though it was talking about bad form and fourth wall breaks, yeah, you have to consider that although we are disseminating factual information, I try and package it up in a way that's digestible. And the way that I would perceive it to be digestible would be to take it to the lowest common denominator. That is to say, unfortunately, dumb it down to a certain extent, contextualize everything. give the background for everything. And if you hear me on shows where I rarely go out and debate on other platforms, you'll hear me try and do it quickly, without stopping for breath, getting every bit of context in that I need to make my point, and ideally addressing their potential rebuttal within the context of my claim or refutation of their claim. But you try and do it fast. So you're not going to get given 20 minutes to contextualize everything, but if you've got 3 and you can contextualize your argument point and then someone listens to it back, they might only get that 3 minutes for them to say, oh yeah, I see every base has been covered. I'm not left wondering. Again, the guy from yesterday, another reason I trimmed out the clip, he said that there were certain aspects of things that people were covering that left him wanting. They were like, well, you haven't really covered that to my satisfaction. And you're like, yeah, I don't want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that people listen to when there's a debate or a discussion point being disseminated to them, where they get it all neatly packaged up so that they can understand it after the sentence is concluded. And I didn't say paragraph, I said sentence. And that's hard.
I tell you what, from my experience in the debating circuit, or flat earth debate anyway, not the actual debating, it is, if you can get one sentence out when you're on another platform, you're doing great.
I remember
you got a point there, John. You're right.
I remember when Ruyef and McToon dogpiled on you.
Well, it's all they could do, you know. Like they were in a trap. They just didn't realize it until they started making claims.
It was so funny because prior to the actual show airing, I was listening to him talk about the debate coming up with you, and he kept saying the way he wanted to do it. And I typed in chat, no, that's not what John agreed to. He's going to give you everything, but he's only going to ask you 2 questions. He's not going to explain or do any celestial navigation for you. So I knew what you had set the rules, the parameters. They thought they could trap you into doing the coordinates. And you said, no, I give it to you. That's fine. They're beautiful. You guys did the admirable job. I give it all to you, but I just got to ask you a question. They totally missed how you gave everything to them to where you didn't need to do anything, but they wanted you to do something. But the way you had planned it was going to just take the floorboards out of their foundation.
But yeah, they used the flat earth to navigate with. Like, there's no debate to be had. Like, why would I argue with them any further?
Kind of like the guy yesterday with the bicycle. He chose 87 miles of perfectly flat, which would have a 5,000-foot bulge somewhere. But then he proved the earth on a perfectly flat road for 87 miles. That kind of.
Yeah, like all you got to do is point out how nonsensical it is. That's about the extent of what you got to do. You don't have to make a claim. They're doing it for you, you know?
He was so happy too, the bicycle guy. He was like top of the world. He was like, see, I just proved it.
Yeah, they still think they won that argument. That's funny, right? They still claim victory.
Well, claiming victory and believing you won is 2 different things. I don't know if they believe they won, but they're going to claim it.
No, he proved it. He said, I just did what Eratosthenes did. I did it on the bicycle. I chose the flattest area I could find. I flew there at my expense. And one guy was there with a sundial, perfectly level. I went to the other place, perfectly level, all flat. And I proved I live on the globe. You proved divergent sun rays. That's what you proved.
Well, he also proved the flat earth with the whole, flat
Right.
part he kept saying.
Yeah, he just proved divergent sun rays work on a flat earth. That's what he proved.
Well, no, even his parallel sun rays needed a flat earth. He was taking angles, Like,
Yeah, no.
he just kept proving flat earth every which way he turned. But then he concluded with a non sequitur. That's all he done the whole time.
Yep.
What else do they got?
Rotation.
Oh, that's a good one. That you don't miss nothing. They got the rotation. What do you think the R value is, buddy? Rotation.
Uh,
See,
What have we
Ted,
got
they
today,
can't
Ted?
laugh and have a good time because they're in pain. We can laugh and have.
Someone was trying to say something.
Yeah, sorry, I'll go after Neil.
No, yeah, you go on. He's done.
What video have we got today?
We got Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about mountains, your weight, and sea level.
Tyson personally causes me pain because I know he's a liar, whereas the guy on the bike isn't a liar.
Correct. But he's in a paradigm of assumption and presupposition. So all he's doing is parroting what the other guy said. Eventually, it's going to trace back to a falsified premise, a lie to begin with.
I'm not going to argue the lie truth dichotomy. Not doing that.
Yeah, don't need to. There's a lot of good people saying a lot of non-true, untrue things, basically lying, but they're not aware that they're lying because they heard it from their good friend and they trust their good friend. So they just repeat it and repeat it. And then someone says, have you ever thought about what you're saying? I mean, let's break it down. So you say the earth is rotating from west to east. Shouldn't plane flights be shorter coming east to west then, since they're not on the earth that's rotating?
Oh, I hate Coriolis. So
I,
gross.
I love it. I love the pendulum. I love it all because great. So why is that happening? The earth is rotating. Great. So let's see if it's a phenomenon or not. Do we actually experience this? You did it the other day with gravity, something that doesn't exist. It's not a phenomenon, but they give all this academia reams and reams of books on something that's never been observed.
Right, but that's the extent you have to deal with it. Like, there's no radius value to assert. There's Coriolis. You don't have an axis to have that effect. That's as far as you really need to know. And with gravity, it's the same thing. There is no phenomenon to observe, so that's really all you need to know.
Well, I'm just one step further in the conversation. Perhaps I might go. I'll say, so you're saying the Earth is rotating on an axis, even though we just destroyed the R value.
Yeah, QE calls it whistling past the graveyard, kind of,
Yeah, it's one way to bury the conversation.
I'm just not much of a talker, Tim.
10th man, I'm looking forward to your video about the Mount Everest. I would like to hear what Buffalo Butt has to say. I just saw it in the message thing. I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
this. So now he's
yeah.
claiming
Well,
that
he
Mount
made,
Everest is not the tallest mountain, and why? Okay.
yeah, it's very interesting what he goes, where he goes, and how he ends it. Plus, he made a mistake, which he retracted by a statement, which I also included in the screenshot for Nathan. So we don't jump too much over his case on that one because he did make a mistake somewhere.
Yeah, I just finished reading about that mistake.
Yeah, to John's point, not talking much, and to D Rose's point, walking away and making that sound. If you want to do it now, D Rose, that'd be good.
You mean the sound that the person is listening to the music? Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think some of us have been here 7+ years. I'm 6 years, I think, 5 days a week, hour to 3 hours, depending on the show, plus personal research, personal investment in over 100 books on astronomy, celestial navigation, mathematics. You know, this is like someone going to college trying to get a master's degree or something. Something to where it's daily, plus you're invested in it. Okay. Got bubble sextant, got a mariner sextant, got a box sextant, got 6 or 7 planispheres, got several compasses for azimuth, all these different things. Plus the back and forth of everyone else's invested time in research that comes out on the over 1,000 shows. And then I go meet somebody and they mock me and they say, "You're one of those, whatever." I say, "Excuse me, can you please come back to me with your official claims that I've researched for the last 6 years, 5 days a week, 1 to 3 hour per day, plus invested in 100 books, including astronomy, mathematics, and celestial navigation. And then I'll talk to you. Because you don't know nothing." And walk away. You know how good that feels?
That's even better.
Almost as good as just saying every claim you make will be dependent upon a flat Earth.
I won't even give them that. I'm not even until they come to me showing they're really interested in the topic by presenting the official globe claims that I could debunk. I'm going to debunk the official globe claims. That's I don't care what the Earth is. I don't care if it's a rectangle, flat. I don't care. I'm going to debunk what they say it is, and then by default, we're going to find out what it is. Together.
Yeah, but you don't have to do that. I mean, seriously, every single claim, whether it's official or not, will be dependent upon the Earth being flat in some way.
That's why it's by default flat. Yes, I know. But I can't get them there when they're first mocking and thinking I'm the guy wearing the tinfoil hat after all that investment of time and research. I'm going to see how much they know, because most of the people I talk to don't even know their own claims. I'm talking to the wrong audience. But you're not a globe defender. Get out of here. You can't even defend the globe.
Yeah, but it's not really about defending the globe if they require it to be flat first.
But see, you're 1-2 steps ahead of me. I'm not even going to go there to even have a discussion. We call them numpties. They don't know any better, until they're serious about it. Why am I always? I can go play golf. I can go ride my motorcycle. I could take my dog for a walk.
Yep, but what I'm saying is there's no point in moving past the start, right? The start will always be a flat Earth.
Correct. But I want to debunk the globe, so that's not on the table anymore. So my approach is to debunk the globe. When they bring me official claims, then they can never go back to it as a defense.
What a lovely day! Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, Then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you all. We're going to do a full run through of housekeeping. So we're going to try and keep it quick fire unless you've got a particularly pertinent point to add about housekeeping. Okay, I'll try and keep them in a relatively familiar order as well. An evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge that's a horizon formerly known as Earth curvature.
No, they would need one if they're going to claim to be living on the globe, but no.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
I'm going to say no to that as well, because if the Earth was spinning, flights from east to west would be shorter all the time, and they're not.
Well, you would need a radius before you could have an axis.
Okay, any evidence of Earth radius? That's the R value for a sphere Earth.
Come on, John. You're going to need a
The only
flat
way-
Earth for that.
Yeah, the only way to answer that is to utilize the flat Earth.
What about any
where does that lead?
Any evidence of the distance to the sun? I might as well just slip it in before you get the rest of that out. Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Oh, I was going to say it requires a flat plane angle measurement. So the rest of your conclusion would be non sequitur if it denied that measurement.
Right, same goes for the distance to the sun. They're going to employ flat Earth methodology to measure Earth and then infer distances based on scaling values for the lights that they assume are orbiting around a sphere Earth that they've assumed, and scaling values that Kepler's given them and Huygens has given them, with the Venus being the same size as Earth assumption that he made to give you the scaling values and scaling distances for things like the sun. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Something that's never been observed.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Hello.
But isn't the claim of gravity, all things go down to the center of the Earth, mass attracts mass, and now it's 4D space-time, but it's never been observed?
That's
They
correct. There is no naturally occurring phenomena. So when the assertion gets made that there is a force in effect that explains why all things tend towards the ground, they don't. Just look up, there's clouds. You can release a helium balloon. So next time somebody drops a mic and says that's gravity, just release a helium balloon and laugh at them. Not all things tend to the ground, so there's no need for an explanation of why things all tend to the ground. They don't.
Yeah, and not only can gravity not be perceived, it also can technically not affect us. How about that?
A pseudo force space-time bending is a conceptual medium that we don't exist within, merely used to describe mathematically some of the observations in the stars, with gravity being replaced 108 years ago by a fourth dimension that bends called geodesics. But we don't exist in a time dimension. Time has been taken out of its context, used outside of its convention, and then described as a fabric that we move along and bend. Meanwhile, we have no reason as flat earthers, just to round this out, to explain any phenomena because there isn't any phenomena. Not all things tend to the ground. Some things remain neutral. Most things remain neutral. Most things are in equilibrium. Some things go up, look up at the clouds. Some things, if you take them out of equilibrium especially, can move back to where they came from in equilibrium. Sometimes that's down if the things are more dense than the air. None of this needs to be explained. I don't need to give any of that little amble because it's not our place to make claims when we don't have a claim in the first instance. What's the claim? All things tend to the ground. No, they don't. Right, any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Those fields of study are not science.
There's not going to be any
Natural
scientific evidence
science.
from those pseudoscience fields then, John.
Nope.
You
No
Well,
know what's
hypothesis.
wonderful about this? Real quick, what's wonderful about this? I recall a few minutes, or rather, a considerable amount of minutes spent on the positive claim argument between refractive and I think it was Brian, or refractive intent. And it's important because when you guys say we didn't make the claim of such things that all things go down, people have to understand what you did back then. You don't have to do it now, but you broke down what a claim is and the differential between a positive claim and just a regular claim. So it's so important how you guys, back to what Blind Spot said, how you guys break down things and how you dissect even the smallest aspects of an explanation within an explanation. And positive claim and specificity means you're the one coming in saying that all things go down. And all you have to do is rebut it by, rebut it by saying, no, they don't, like Nathan said. And then they say, explain. You don't have to get all into why, just say, look outside, helium balloon, etc. So I just wanted to put that in there,
Yeah.
that claim term.
Sure, there's a bit of an
Sorry.
internal struggle going on at the moment, right? Because there's plenty of people that have put a lot of work in and a lot of effort in for us to fully understand what explains a non-phenomena we aren't claiming. Now, I've summarized it in a way that wasn't possible maybe 12 months ago. But now we can say, no, now that we're in a position where we have identified what their positive claim is, and that the initial claim fails, there is no initial claim to defend because it does not happen in nature. That is the end of the argument. Up until now, we've started explaining what they explain in respect to all things going down, but whistled past that positive claim that does not hold true and started explaining why some things go down, some things go up, some things remain neutral, with an effect we would describe as relative density disequilibrium. When you show that something that's pulled out of equilibrium, like picking up a microphone in air and then releasing it for it to return from whence it came, is merely the effect of relative density. That is to say that the microphone is more dense than the air it is temporarily suspended in someone's hand, and then when released, it returns through the medium that it is more dense than. Had it have been less dense than the medium, like a helium balloon, it would have gone up. But in so doing, our explanation whistles past the fact that the claim in the first place, the positive assertion, extraordinary in nature, is that all things tend towards the ground, and that's why we're held here. And when we are being held here, we're going to be describing that always being pulled down when we're not doing a damn thing as 1G. Well, we're not experiencing 1G, and ergo, when we are falling towards our death, that's 0G. It's a nonsense moving of the scale to introduce a force that is not in existence by asserting that all things go down, and when all things go down, when they are more dense than the medium only, we, being more dense than our medium, are being held down by the force of gravity, simply there to stop us flying off a water ball that's spinning at an astronomical speed through a sky vacuum that would leave us with no air to breathe and no water to swim in.
Right. And the thing is, if you skip past that initial point, the best you can hope for, even if you win the argument, is that the cause of everything falling down is its relative density. That's the problem we find ourselves in with a lot of our opponents, is they think that's the argument.
Which is a draw. So they can say, well, we explained some of the aspects of relative density because the gas going down forces the helium balloon up when all gases are expanding in all directions at a high velocity into whatever containment they have, as opposed to being pulled down towards the ground when they're going up. So your clouds are being pulled down by the gas around them, falling down, go boom, boom. Yeah, gases don't behave like that. But if you've not identified that not all things go down, you're suddenly into explaining how, no, it's not that all gases go down. Gases don't go down. What do you say? Gases go down, go boom, boom? No. Why are we entering into that argument, much as this is to my own detriment? No, not all things go down. End of argument. Moving on. Any evidence you can acquire? I'm trying to keep it quick fire for housekeeping, but go on.
No, I was just going to say to your point about gas, especially when you have citations that say, quote, a gas has no fixed shape or volume. The atoms or molecules that make up the gas fill the container that holds them. The gas expands until it is uniformly distributed throughout the container, even in the presence of gravity. If not confined to a container, a gas disperses into space. Now, that's not a flat earther writing that. That's the heliocentric side. That's the globe narrative. And even they tell you that.
You
So
post
it's a
that
hell of a thing.
citation.
Yeah, I could do that.
Well, while he's posting that, might as well ask the question: any evidence that you can have gas pressure, like we're all breathing, without a container?
Well, ballers
Well,
like
that
to
would.
give explanations, but they can't demonstrate any of those explanations. And then they get angry that you don't believe what they claim to happen in the sky, which they can't demonstrate down here where we are. It's all very silly.
That's a
That would,
twofold.
that would
That's a
also
two.
go back. Sorry, Tim. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's a twofold argument that we win. You need a container to create a vacuum because nature abhors a vacuum, and you need a container to create pressure, gas pressure. So both need a container.
I posted that in Masterpiece.
Yes,
Thank
on
you.
screen. The audience have got it from now. What is?
Right, because the gas pressure differential is a vacuum.
You guys hear
And-
me?
Yes, we do hear you, Arwin. I mean, we were just ignoring you.
Oh, thanks.
No, we couldn't. Now we can.
Right, but I was going to say we can't create any demonstration of gas pressures or the lack thereof with less than one container. There's always going to be one container at least.
In the heliocentric mathematical world, one container plus one container equals no containers. Did you know that?
Globe
What?
math, baby.
What?
One container plus another separate container, potentially even within the first container, equals no container. Cool, huh? That's globe logic.
That sounds like malformed math.
Nah, man. Two containers make a non-container. It's just how it is if you're a globe head. Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
Never been done before. Can't ever be done.
Yeah, the definition of angle excludes any attempt.
How about any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth, whereat we could take angle measurements? I'm going to add that in from now on.
Angles from hell, but next to a molten iron core that needs an R to begin with. No,
Any
none
evidence
of
of a molten iron hell capable of putting angles at?
that. Well, now we get to the core of the argument. No.
Fair enough. Right, that concludes the housekeeping questions. It's been a while since we've done all of them, right? That was not bad. Only minutes,
No, that was
15
good.
minutes. Not bad, not bad. Very good. Okay, so today we are going to be covering this, and there's a link going by in the chat right now so that you can go and let Neil deGrasse Tyson know that that's Nathan Oakley 1980, or at Nathan Oakley 1980, responded to this video. Handpicked by our absolutely wonderful panel member, 10th Man. As always, we are blind, and the reason we are blind to this video and asking you to share the link is simply for selfish motivations. That is to say, I would hope that were Neil or any of the people we respond to in this respect were to actually respond, do a bit of due diligence and address some of the major issues that we highlight here, they would put a link to my video. Heaven forbid. Anyway, that would be the love that I would hope algorithmically we are afforded by our opponents, because it certainly isn't being afforded to us by any other means. So in the vague hope that we might get a link to this video put in a Tyson video in response, please go and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, helping him in the algorithm where he gets so much promotion already. Anyway, we're going to get into this. I'll leave all the mic lines open. If anybody does want to pipe up, feel free.
Chuck, what's the tallest mountain in the world?
Is it Everest?
Yeah, Mount Everest. Mount
Yeah.
Everest. And tallest compared to what?
K2.
Okay.
Going to be measured against sea level. So in terms of giving things in terms of their elevation, it's going to be reference to a flat Earth. All of the heights are going to be in reference to a Cartesian flat Earth grid system. And colloquially, we refer to it as sea level.
That's, I can tell that's the only other possible answer you could give in this session.
That's all.
K2. That's K1.
K1,
K2. Is it
K2.
the North Face.
That's it.
That's all you got. That's all you got for me.
I offered a flat Earth and a Cartesian grid system and sea level. Lots of things proving flat Earth I offered.
Hey, and any other clothing that might like Patagonia or anything. That's all I know. 'Cause let me tell you something. Let me tell you what you will not find on the top of any mountain. This black man right here.
You know, that's something I would totally agree with you there. Is this guy called Chuck? Is it Chuck? Yes, Nathan, he's called Chuck.
Yeah, I think so.
I am with your black ass on that one, my friend. You would not find my white ass on top of that mountain. It sounds very dangerous.
Chuck the clown. Chuck the clown. Sidekick, hype man, Chuck.
Oh, he's all right. I don't mind Chuck. You know, that's what he is, isn't he, Chuck? He's there for chuckles. Fair enough.
This is like, it's like the Globe Comedy Hour with these two. They're like the two old guys in that Muppet Show, just sitting there telling jokes. That's what I feel like when I listen.
Exactly.
Chuck isn't old. What are you
That's a
saying?
good word,
Tyson's old.
Chuck
This
is
guy's
Chuck.
not that old. How old do you reckon this guy is?
I'm not comparing them by age. Just the fact that they sit there. You know what
So
I'm saying?
forced, though, isn't it? You know, it's like they've said to him, look, right, no offense, Tyson, you were great with all the visual editing on Space, and, you know, you're great when you got a big audience in Comedy Central and plenty of people to bounce off. But when you're on your own, you're about as dry as a nun's fanny, and we need someone else to liven you up a bit. So here's Chuck. Laugh along with him. When he laughs, just force out a laugh alongside him, and it'll all work. Just trust us.
Okay. You will not find my
No,
black
you could go if there's snow on the mountain. That's not a mountain you're gonna be on.
Yeah,
You could go to Martin Luther King's mountain where he sees the promised land.
Let me just tell
that
you
mountain
this.
didn't have snow.
I'm
Mountain
sorry.
didn't have snow.
I gotta tell Brother Martin, I'm sorry. I'm a wave to you from the bottom base camp.
I'll tell you a story. This is going to be such a sidetrack away from this. As they're just like non sequitur miles off the railroads, why can't I do the same thing? Right? My brother was married to a Swiss girl, a gymnast, Olympic medalist and all the rest of it. She was very, very talented, but she was very athletic and liked doing skiing. Obviously, she lived in Switzerland and had access to lots of good slopes. So one time we went up, me and a girl that I was with while I was there, my brother and his wife, all went up to the mountain and did some skiing. We got invited, so these flyers come round. We were seen as being cool and hip, and we got invited to what in Swiss German said on the invitation, beach party. Now it didn't, it was in Swiss German, so I can't remember exactly, but I looked at it and I was like, well, we're on the top of a mountain. It's just going to be me not understanding Swiss German. There's going to be some in-joke that I don't get about what this loose translation to beach party from German to English actually is. Because it's not going to be a beach party, is it? Anyway, so we take all of our stuff up to the top of this hut on the top of one of the peaks, and there's a kind of funny vibe coming off there, and you're like, okay, fair enough. We hand over our invite, open the door, and the moment we walk in, there are dozens upon dozens of semi-naked women spraying water guns over each other, sweating and steam, and there's rubber up every wall. There's buckets of water being thrown on everybody. Everybody's shit-faced. They've got the temperature at 100 degrees. It's absolutely insane. I've never experienced. I don't think I'll ever experience anything like it ever again. And this is in sub-zero temperatures at the top of a mountain. The Swiss are bonkers. And that was just a segue to something that happened at the top of a mountain, because I could think of a better story than what they're giggling about, just to keep my audience entertained, where these two numpties are being boring and talking about not going up. Anyway, just thought that little anecdote would impart some joy on my audience. Let's carry on.
So Chuck would have liked to go on up there then, in other words.
Oh man, I enjoyed it. Let's be honest, it was wonderful. God, to be 20 in my 20s again.
Wouldn't it be unbearable?
It was a really weird experience to go from being outside minus temperatures to being absolute, to the point where you had no choice but to strip off. So there's a reason everybody in there's half naked, because it was absolutely blisteringly hot in there, and they're all spraying each other with water pistols.
How'd you miss my pun?
Oh, okay, my bad. I'm too wrapped up in my own anecdote now.
For you to get, I'm gonna wait for you to get back down here and tell me everything's okay.
I've been to the mountaintop.
And I'm like, good for you. Can you take a picture, put it on Instagram? I would like to see it. Okay.
He would say, no, not Mount Everest. I'm talking about that other mountain with no snow.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. So how do they measure the height of, it's the height relative to what?
Sea level. Yeah, above sea level? How high above sea level? We just covered this. It's a flat earth, right? Look at your super serious face, Tyson. Let's get a good old close-up of that for the thumbnail. Yeah, it's in reference to a flat earth.
Well, they always say sea level.
Exactly, height above sea level.
That'll be a flat earth right there. Wrap it up, boys. We're done. No, obviously we're going to continue.
Okay. Well, how high is sea level?
Okay.
Have you thought about that?
I got to tell you the truth.
Quick, reference it to the center of a sphere Earth.
I'm going to be honest, and I'm really ashamed of this right now. I have never thought about that once in my life. Like, okay, and it's 15 feet above sea level. Yeah, well, how high is sea level?
Yeah, well, it's because you've missed off a term in the colloquial use. You'd say mean sea level, wouldn't you? Which is an average.
Well, what are you writing a book? You smart ass. Shut up. It's 15 feet above sea level.
How high is sea level? It's an important question. Okay.
How high is level? So we're going to say all of it. And how high is all of it? Yeah. This is definitely a description of a flat earth, though, isn't it? This is a description of a plane. Because how high is stuff that's only at one elevation at one point on a ball is different everywhere, is the answer. There is no level ever on a ball. Full stop. End of argument.
Well, they're trying to invoke a secondary reference frame from which they can measure sea level, like to the center of Earth. That's exactly what this is.
But
it's nonsense.
But sea level is quite specifically defined as not being with reference to the center of Earth. If QE was here, he'd dig out the citation, but I haven't got it to hand. But it's not with reference to the center of Earth. It's with reference to a Cartesian plane, a grid system that is not curving at 8 inches per mile squared, but flat in nature.
Wouldn't you need an R value for this?
He hasn't got there yet. You're being a bit premature.
No land came above the ocean level. Okay.
Level. We're all clear then. Level then.
Okay.
And the whole Earth were just sea level.
Why did you do a little curvy gesture when saying level? Yeah? Was that a little sleight of hand magic trick to make the audience see you curve your hands round while saying level? Like no part being higher or lower than the other, and then you start at the top and curve your hands down? That wasn't level, Tyson. I mean, maybe it was just you with a bit of arthritis. Let's just put it down to that for now, yeah?
Because Earth is not a perfect sphere?
Hold on, how have we now talking about whether or not we're perfectly not level, having bits fall away at 8 inches per mile squared in all directions, when you've just described things that are level?
Magic trick. He's already got people on the begging the question sphere that needs an R value that doesn't exist.
Right, and the way he did it was invoking that secondary reference frame where you can look at it from the perspective of God. When he curved his hands, most people seen the Earth curve calculator.
The parts of the sea that's at the equator will be.
That's an interesting word. What's the equator? Sounds like a minimum elevation angle to Polaris and the midpoint of the sun's trajectory through the seasons. These values that have all been derived from flat planes also. Equator, you say? That's an interesting term you use. What's that? You presuppose that it's the outside edge of a sphere based on a derivation of the celestial movements as described by me a moment ago when measured off a flat plane? Yeah, definitely not.
Farther away from Earth's center than.
Oh, really? No, sea level is not measured to the center of Earth. Nothing can be measured to the center of a presupposed spherical Earth. You don't even have a measurement for your presupposed spherical Earth. We've debunked all of them as using flat planes to derive the R value from. So you haven't got a center of a presupposed spherical Earth to get a level. Nothing moving towards the center of the radial value of any sphere ever is level. It's an absolute married bachelor. It's a contradiction in terms. This is absurd.
The parts of the sea that are at the poles. So sea level is not an equidistant thing from the center of the Earth.
No, it's an average because it moves up and down. But ultimately, it's a level description and not a spherical one. There's nothing level on a sphere ever.
All right.
Well, this is where the contradiction will get expressed, right? Because they need eye level to be a flat plane to take measurements, right? And eye level must be parallel to sea level because level is used. And then he's going to tell you it's curving, so then he has a curved adjacent in which he can't get an angle from. But he'll not address that.
So it's like the globe math, right? Level plus level equals curve. Like
Yes.
2 + 2 = 5. That's awesome.
No, that's absolutely spot on. Level plus level equals curved. Differential between the two levels can be calculated to extrapolate out an R-based tangent point below surface level. So for the globe Earth maths to work, you need two principles that both use level, horizontal, a straight line when depicted in Muppet vision. That's an orthographic view. So you see Earth curve maths, it will have, because it's part and parcel of the geometry, surface level and eye level. So when fundies who we oppose say, well, level means curving. No, it's a geometric principle used in your maths. They give you tangency when deriving the difference between surface level and eye level. Well, you still need level to be level. And you need it for the maths to derive all of these celestial movements into equator values or equatorial plane values, all using flat Earth. No exceptions.
Are we okay with that?
So far, that makes sense.
What, that he told you how sea level was? You said you didn't have a clue about it. He says it's how far things are, or not how things are, from the centre of a sphere Earth. Because so far he's telling you that it couldn't be equidistant from the centre of a sphere Earth. So this is what sea level isn't. And you're nodding saying that makes sense. So to Chuck, what sea level isn't makes sense when disseminated to him by Tyson. Well done, Chuck.
Can you
Notice
handle the
how
truth
Tyson-
here? Okay. So,
No, hang on. Notice how Tyson said, are we okay with that? Like, no, we're not okay with that. We just demolished it. What are you talking about?
no.
Well, he demolished
Earth.
it.
He just contradicted himself. Level, 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 level. How far from the centre of a ball? Something that never has level. That makes no sense.
Is slightly flattened at the poles and slightly fatter at the equator.
What, your ball Earth? No, we don't have a ball Earth.
Little chubby, pear-shaped.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in another clip, he's described as saying, in spite of it being chubbier at the bottom in its description, if you were to run your hands over it at the scale of a bowling ball, it would be perfectly spherical. Now, Meanwhile, he hasn't got an R value to derive, and when you describe how level things are, it's not how, as his hand showed, them falling away from an orthographic representation of a ball from space. That isn't level. Anyway,
Nathan,
I've got it.
I
Ted.
got a slide for you, Master D.
So here we are with the ball, with how far we are from the centre of Earth, as depicted here, with a radial value marked to the top of two parallel lines. One that says, let's just scale this a bit better on screen. Sorry, bear with me. Parallel to actual horizon and actual horizon. Well, it may be labelled slightly differently to how it's described in the Earth curve maths with sea level or surface level and eye level. Well, eye level is parallel to actual horizon, this line, from eye out horizontally. And this dotted line would be surface level. Okay, what's this line? Tangent to a sphere. Oh, well, it's the derivative of the two, the differential between those two parallel level surfaces, because it's an axiom used in this geometry to assert this radial value and this sphere. Level is level always. What's that? Level means bending. No, it doesn't. You couldn't employ this geometric principle to assert that you've got a second horizon that only exists in the maths, that nobody's ever going to see, as a consequence of a differential between surface level and eye level. This is how Earth curve maths works. To convince the general populace that we have a non-existent Earth curve edge horizon that exists below surface level. Isn't it nuts? Subscribe today,
Nathan.
Flat Earth Debate, on the cutting edge of disseminating the globe Earth lie and how Earth is measured flat. Thank you for the diagram, 10th. Please share the show.
Yeah.
75 people watching. It should be 75,000.
It will be one day. That dotted line, actual horizon, we didn't label that, right? They labeled that. If the height of I is at 0 minutes, 0 seconds. What does that mean? Rubber ducky time. Put your eyeball on the water. It's the same horizontal as the eye line horizontal that John expressed earlier with a bubble sextant. Or a plumb bob, which would give you a perpendicular horizontal that you would need automatically. So two flat planes on top of a sphere that doesn't exist, and then a depression angle from the height of I to the geometric horizon that can never be seen. That thing and the dingleberry are surplus to requirement.
So if you measure the diameter of Earth at the equator,
At Amazon.
How are you going to do that? Given that the equator is a derivative value from celestial movements off a flat plane. But what if we now presuppose that we're standing on the outside edge of a ball and then you measure the circumferential value? No, we're never going to be able to do that in physical terms, because the thought experiment of a sphere ultimately comes from flat Earth elevation angle measurements and celestial movements to give you things like the equator. It's not the outside edge of a sphere, in other words, no matter how much you want to presuppose it.
Why
it
are
is
you always trying to put us on a
several
ball?
thousand miles wider than the distance from the North Pole to the South Pole.
Total nonsense.
Here,
Okay.
you need
Got
to
that?
read the.
Go on.
Hang on. You need to read one of the screenshots where he corrects what he just said. Several thousand miles. He made a mistake there, so it's just put it on the screen so we can give him credit for fixing that mistake, but not all the mistakes.
All right.
Okay. Not only that, Earth is slightly wider below the equator than at the equator.
These are all extraordinary claims. Earth as a sphere, Earth with a bulgy equator, Earth with a different circumferential value from north to south versus east to west. All of these extraordinary claims are actually baseless assertions. He's not backing any of this.
Now we a little Bonita Applebottom. We went a little pear shaped.
We are pear-shaped. We are
Because of what? So far, this is about sea level. Yeah? And how high mountains are off a level plane that would never achieve you a height if it was curving away, because you could never triangulate its height. Meanwhile, we have sea level to do it with That's what's being discussed, and this somehow is inference for what? Earth having a different circumferential value when spherical and not being able to give you the Cartesian grid to give a height? This is so non sequitur. It's off the charts. And it's just a string of baseless assertions.
Hair shaped. Okay.
I,
What
I
that means
agree
is
that it's sorry. I was saying I agree that it's so batshit crazy that he can sit there with some sort of authority and tell people that the world we live in is pear shaped. Meanwhile, what do they show us all the time? A perfect sphere.
Yeah.
But yet, the people that
That's
believe this will defend that all day long.
Yep. But
It's
the
it's
scale
that's exactly
that
what
they
I
would
was going to
use
say.
it at, it would be like using a level, right? The microscopic undulations of water within that level is not going to affect your perception of level. Just like the scale he's talking about wouldn't be measurable from a picture.
That's what exactly what I was going to say. Just based on his
So
title, oh, the world-renowned astrophysicist
Oh, hang on a second.
is,
Hold
you know,
on.
whatever he
This is
says.
big news. Is this an actual picture of Earth from space? Why didn't this get
It said
presented earlier?
NASA.
Time to
It
pack
said
up, lads.
NASA, so I just put it there.
It's time to pack up, lads. I mean, what are we even wasting our time for? Look, there's Earth in space with Australia. Isn't it amazing? I just got one question, whoever posted this. See these clouds, right? These are formed by the gas vapor going through a phase change. So in other words, where this white bit, you see how this top bit's got a white edge to it? That essentially is very, very, very high pressure gas right next to this black bit, which is a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum, with absolutely nothing in between the high pressure gas and the more powerful than any 6 foot thick wall chambered vacuum we've created on Earth. More powerful vacuum than that, right next to fluffy white clouds, without them vacating into the area of volume in line with entropic law and gas law. So besides that second law of thermodynamics violation problem that this picture presents with a gas at high pressure next to a area of volume that it could fill but isn't, violating the second law of thermodynamics, I think we should pack up our bags and go home because this is obviously a picture from space of Earth.
They're claiming that's a place that exists you can take a picture from. Huh?
No, your timing was terrible. I just put a picture of it being a pair up when you were saying that, so that was terrible timing on your part, but you didn't know that I just pressed that button. But why not? I mean, this could also be Earth from space in the shape of a pear with a little stalk that's come from a tree. Beautiful.
It could be from a place that violates natural law.
Well, I can make the same example with this. You've got white fluffy clouds at a high pressure, denoting all of the gas that must be in this area. And then that high pressure gas is right next to this 10 to the minus torr. Let's do it over here. Into the 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum next to the stalk. Know what I mean?
I will
No,
say
that's
this
crazy.
again. Neil deGrasse Tyson is what is known as a token appointed, crossing the barriers. All he would have to be is female, and he has crossed all the barriers of tokenism. No one can
I think
say
that
this is a so-called white man saying this. It grabs all barriers of demographics. Now, if he was a female, all he needed to have a female, like a Kamala Harris type of person saying the same fallacious, ridiculous rhetoric, and it would be even more profound, and it would spread abroad and be such a sacred belief. I mean,
Hold
this
on a
is
second.
dangerous.
Hold on.
He's dangerous, bro.
The word
He's
token,
dangerous.
to me, when used as a racist slur, is the guy in the B movie horror flick with the slasher movie, right? Where the black character in a room full of white characters is definitely going to be the first guy to die, and therefore got
Right.
labelled the token black man or token black character because he's there to, diversify the cast, but ultimately he's going to get killed first. That's a token black. Now, South Park literally named one of their characters, a little black boy, Token. And his surname was Black. So he was from the Black family, a little black boy called Token Black. Right? That's what I take token to mean. And you said it and then contextualize it with the whites around him, right? But he, in his profession, he's the pinnacle, man. This is the high priest. How can you call him Token in any respect?
I don't mean it. Well, he's going to be sacrificed pretty soon because the more we continue to expose him as a fool or a charlatan liar, he will be silenced or put aside. Right now, it's unprecedented that anybody of his demographic in this argument of heliocentrism has ever existed. So just look at it that way. So basically, they covered all the tracks. All you need is a female now. And then
But he's already being thrown to the wolves.
Right, I know.
I've got a strong objection from John.
Yeah.
I'm just going to shout out a super chat, and then you've got a strong objection to deal with from John D-Rose. Hillside says, gravity holds the gases down. Your gases aren't going down. They've created a ground level and they're expanding up, out. So that's why there's gases on the top of Everest. There's very little vegetation creating gases right on the peak. Why is the gas there? Well, because it's expanded up from ground level to fill the variability of volume that it has in line with entropic law. It's expanded up. So no, gravity isn't holding gas go down, go boom, boom. It isn't going down, go boom, boom. But I like the sentiment and the sarcasm, Hillside. I appreciate that you've sent many a super chat. But thank you for the super chat. Right, John, what's your objection? You're going to have to summarise D-Rose's point. Please, let's just let him summarise your point, D-Rose. Go ahead, John.
Well, the notion that he's a token black guy and sacrificable, well, he is none of those things. He is expressing the general understanding and views of an area of secular study. If they were to do what you're implying, everyone in those fields would be enraged.
I don't follow the last bit. Hold on. Just get clarity on the last bit. What would the people in his field get enraged about? I didn't follow that.
If they were to say that everything he said was a lie, right? If someone took the stance that Neil deGrasse Tyson is a liar and he will be removed from television, everyone in those fields of study, they're not science, but they are fields of study, even if they study Narnia, right? They would be enraged by that claim.
I gotcha. And it would have nothing to do with his race either. If he is an astrophysicist, forget the colour of his skin, just as an astrophysicist was thrown under the bus, his professional field around him, his colleagues, would be outraged. I agree. But yeah, I don't think it's anything to do with him being black, D-Rose.
No. I don't want that to be misconstrued. I'm not saying the reason why he would be removed, silenced, or gradually fade out and someone would replace him. I'm saying the point of meeting the demographic. The demographic has always been, Darwin, all these guys were considered so-called white men that were dictating the philosophy or the study or the ology, whatever it is, of what they were asserting. Now they got him, whom we talked about this before, whom grabs a demographic that neither cared near there or
hold on,
I've got
to get context. Who's they? You're talking about the black community at this point, presumably.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, people who are considered so-called black. It's a prestige. It's like, it's proud. I recall it because I remember having a conversation way before internet was in, and when he came into the picture, oh man, that is so cool, man. He represent, man, we are moving up, yada yada yada. He's like the top astrophysicist, man. There's a time we could, so basically that grabbed that audience. Then the audience of the people who didn't care whether it was flat or curved, the people that thought it was curved, now they have someone who you can't say, who can defend him and say, well, you're just saying he's wrong because he's a brother. A brother get all the time before he was all on board, but now a brother's saying you're against it. So basically, the heliocentric and the powers to be, the mainstream, have grabbed their demographic. So there can't be any incentive for people to disagree with him. Everybody should be on board. And I was saying, being sarcastic, if they had a female, If they had a female,
No,
then it
don't
would
don't
really
compare it to
cover
women.
all
Let's
the
just
demographics.
stick with that.
Okay, gotcha.
You're on a roll. Just
Gotcha.
stick with that. Just stick with that. Okay, because I'm with you. What you're
Right.
saying is, because he's black, he will potentially grab more empathy from the audience by being that black minority astrophysicist. So therefore,
Bingo.
that does work to his favour. Is that what you're saying?
Bingo.
Well, maybe. I don't know if it does. Maybe.
Nathan,
Trust
can
me.
you,
Yeah, but
That's
that's
Trust me.
funny
nothing to
because I
Trust
do
me,
know
with
a lot of
Adelis.
black people who have no idea who he
He's
is.
he's the Jackie Robinson of heliocentrism. Okay, you understand it, right?
Let me just do a quick
Chocolate,
shout out.
Eli,
Somebody,
they notice.
I think
He
somebody,
is the Jackie Robinson of it.
I
Okay.
think somebody wrote a super chat and then they've written a word that the algorithm didn't like. So big shout out to you, James Williams, for the super chat. Unfortunately, whatever you typed didn't make it, but it looks like, oh, you just gave me money and a ton of it. So thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate it.
Nathan, can you put the two pictures, the globe, the spherical globe one and the pear globe one? Okay, so I see the
Yeah.
spherical shape. Go to the pear one.
Yeah.
Okay, so based on these two, I think it's pretty apparent which ones of the earth we live on, right?
Apparent.
I mean, it's right there.
You got me to do just for the pun.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right, let's
It's
get.
apparent. It's
Apparently.
To be fair, right, we have done a little bit of talk on relationship stuff just because that's the crap I'm watching at the moment. So, as you've tried to get it in, D Rose, comparing his blackness to women, this massive glaring stereotype fallacy I am going to allow just for the fun of it. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying. Same thing with presidency. Government. It's always about grabbing a demographic to spread the vote. The reason why Biden got more votes, or if he so did, is because he got Kamala on board. Okay, there's a strategy to get the populace to side with you, or to re, to retract or to digress on their criticisms or their dislike for you once you appeal and appease to a certain audience. This guy is the Jackie Robinson of the whole globe heliocentric new world order. He stands on a position as the hierarchy, high priest, heliocentric proponent. And you have to walk on eggshells sometimes, depending on who you are, when it comes to criticizing him. The ones
So
that
therefore, he's
preceded
not
him,
token. He's actually very important.
got you. So I used the wrong term, but it's just a term that they,
A
it's
tool.
misused.
What you're saying is you're saying tool rather than he's not a token black.
Quota.
He's a
How
black
about
man
quota?
being used as a tool, is what you're saying.
There you go. Right.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, this
exactly.
it doesn't have to appeal. It's a pear. You can eat it with the skin on. It's not like an orange.
are you mocking me? Are you mocking me because I'm your Chuck?
Okay. Are we all done with the puns?
No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Neil deGrasse has Chuck. You have me, and I pun. I mean, come on, we're a team. Get on.
If you're a mountain
Okay.
near the
Sorry, I just want to start that again, just because it sounds really bad contextually.
We went a little pear-shaped.
we are pear-shaped. We are pear-shaped. Okay. What that means is if you're a mountain
Okay.
near the equator.
Oh, he literally is contextualizing this as though you are the mountain. Okay.
You get a few extra 1,000 miles head start if you're in the competition for the tip of the mountain being farthest from Earth's center.
No, but you weren't asking how far each mountain was from the center of a presupposed spherical Earth. The question is, and it's even in the title, why is Everest why Everest isn't the tallest mountain? Oh, I see. Should have read the title out when I said get him to be aware that Nathan Oakley 1980 sent you by commenting. Well, why Everest isn't the tallest mountain is a segue into why it's not the furthest from the centre of Earth when presupposed as a sphere, when in reality it's like, what's its height? How do you measure it? And how do you make the assertion that that height is inferred to be further away from the centre of a sphere Earth when juxtaposing sea level with the distance from the centre of a sphere Earth, you presuppose?
Aha, I got you.
You get it several thousand. Okay. So ask me, what is the highest mountain from Earth's center?
What is the highest mountain
Why? Why repackage the question so that you can answer it in a hypothetical sphere Earth with measurements from a flat Earth? Why do this?
from Earth's center?
It is not Mount Everest. Itself is the 10th highest summit from Earth's center. 10th.
The globe Earth rhetoric annoys me for just this very reason. What's the highest mountain? Everest. No, it's not, because we're on a ball, and height is determined from the centre of the... No, it isn't. It's with reference to sea level.
I feel just as annoyed. That's exactly how I feel right now. Can't stand this smoking the grass, Tyson.
But he does want you to engage in that argument, right? Because it is so nonsensical. It's a way of drawing you in. Because if you're arguing something as nonsensical as that, you're presupposing that the Earth's a sphere. It's
I'm still
forcing the indoctrination.
I'm still trying to get over. He's just very comfortable calling the Earth freaking pear when he shows us a sphere. Like when you're describing a shape, aren't you describing something that you've observed? Wouldn't that be where you got the shape from? So how are you describing a shape using the shape that you're not describing? How does that work? Can't stand this dude.
Yeah, but the peak of his argument came when he said, if you are the mountain.
The highest mountain from center is somewhere in Africa.
Okay, so that's a good guess. It's wrong, but a really excellent guess. It's completely wrong, but it's a good guess. Okay?
Okay. Go ahead.
Is he going to say something like Hawaii?
The top five peaks, the distance from Earth's center, are all in South America.
Oh,
and the
in
number one
South
peak
America.
is, yes, Mount Chimborazo in Ecuador.
In Ecuador.
And guess what the latitude is of Ecuador?
Latitude? That's a bit like equator. That's a funny old term. Latitude? Anybody care to tell me from the panel what latitude is?
I want to know what the latitude of Ecuador is.
Not what the latitude is.
It's an elevation angle.
No. Hold on, John. Not what the latitude is. What latitude is. Go ahead, John.
It's an elevation angle measurement to Polaris so that you can determine your position on the ground using a flat plane.
No, it's the measurement that would drop with respect to the horizon 1 degree for every 60 nautical miles that you backed away from Polaris until it reached the horizon at the, quote, equator. So it's a flat Earth elevation angle measurement description. I see.
Yeah.
Funny old terminology that Tyson's using. Sorry, John. Didn't realise you'd finished. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, it requires a flat plane because it's an angle measurement. You know, if you're going to say level is curving, then you have nothing to, you don't have eye level to base an angle on. It's over.
Zero, maybe?
What a coincidence.
Oh, wow.
So this mountain is 1 degree south of the equator.
Anybody want to tell him he needs a flat Earth flat 1 degree?
In Ecuador. Okay. And then Peru has the next 2, and then Ecuador again, and then Peru, and then this.
Just a massive string of baseless assertions again. Because, as evidenced by, if we claim anything, the standard that we have to adhere to as flat earthers is absolutely off the scale. We have to define our terms. We have to be hyper-specific. We have to be overly cautious about the things that we're incorporating within our claim and the language used to disseminate it. We have to reach a standard that is beyond reasonable. He, Tyson, can just babble out a load of complete nonsense with absolutely zero to back this outrageous claim with no evidence. Just go baseless assertion after baseless assertion and then laugh about it as he just tells you what's what about your entire world.
Sixth highest summit from the center of the earth is indeed in Africa, and just name it correctly, even if you guess.
I don't know, Kilimanjaro.
Because, as evidenced by... No? Any of that? Is that going to come?
Kilimanjaro. There it is.
Yeah.
So South America has 8 of the top 10 peaks.
So Kilimanjaro is the highest peak in the world when you measure it from the center of a sphere, which we don't. And that's it. That's all I need to say. Baseless assertion will do.
Africa has
Nathan, think about it. Nathan, think about it. When you've already been allowed to and got away with talking about what the temperature it is on Jupiter and Uranus and all of this stuff like that, is it really that absurd to a normie or a numpty or to a anti-flat earther when you hear him describing these assertions about the closest proximity of where we inhabit? That's why he can get away with this.
Yeah. People are so used to their high priests telling them what's what. We had this out on one of the after shows a couple of days ago, where I was using Neil as the example for what he wants that is unattainable in regards to people's cognitive processing skills. Having discernment isn't something you can instill in somebody after a certain age. I think it's impossible for a vast majority of the Western world populace. They just are beyond help in that regard. Sorry if you're one of them. If you find this offensive, it's tough luck. Some of you just can't do it. It's like Neo explaining to, or Morpheus explaining to Neo that there are certain people that you just can't unplug. They are so hopelessly immersed in the system that it would be dangerous to unplug them. Right? Well, they're the people that need, nay, require Tyson to tell them what their world is. He is their priest. Now, if you point out to them that A, they're in a religion, B, this is one of their priests, people don't like it. People prefer to be in blissful ignorance of their religious beliefs. They certainly don't like to hear that they're religious beliefs, or that their priest is telling them what's what by way of baseless assertion. Fallacy after fallacy after fallacy. People just nod. They'll open their gormless mouths and go, really? Spoon feed me more nonsense. Yum, 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 yum. Thank you, Tyson.
You can
I can
usually
use the
tell.
fear
Hold
to
on.
make.
Sorry, John. Go ahead.
Yeah, John.
Oh, I was going to say I can use the fear to make up some nonsense and get someone to agree with something completely stupid. Hey, check
Not
this
if you
out.
told them
The
you were a flat
furthest-
earther, you couldn't.
Right, no. But the furthest point from me on Earth is right behind me. Because if I move in an intrinsically straight line, the furthest point from myself is right beside myself.
That's actually true.
The back of
That's
your head.
absolutely correct
Yes.
within a fourth dimensional bent geodesic. That's strictly true. You're not like, although it's an outrageous claim that John's just disseminated, if you gave your general normie who thinks he's got a good idea about how the world works a rough description of a bent geodesic in space-time alongside a dumbed-down explanation of what that means with what John just said, again, they would nod, wouldn't they, John?
Absolutely.
Nod yes.
Because they're not
John,
thinking about it.
John, does that mean if you step backwards, you've traveled the whole world?
We've heard similar
Yes.
claims. We've been
Obviously.
told specifically that if you had enough refraction at the right rate of R, you could see your own arse in a telescope. We've been told that by ball believers. Now, that's not a bent geodesic in space-time. That's something else, but it's equally absurd.
It's usually the moon. Those that still believe that the moon landing was legit, you're not reaching them. I don't care what you say.
Man, I've been told when you go to sleep and you dream and in vivid dreams, you have astral projected to other dimensions. That's how hard it gets.
sixth highest peak against Earth center, and then Mount Everest coming in at 10th in
Right.
Asia.
And
We have in Nepal.
what's 8 and 9? Like 2 3-story buildings in Ecuador?
Yeah, just tell me, just lie to me, just give me nonsense.
No, they're real mountains, dude. Give them
Okay.
a break.
No,
here.
they're okay.
And
Okay.
another thing about Chimborazo, it's the cone of a dormant volcano.
Oh,
So I think it has the highest ascent from its base of any mountain in the world, other than certain volcanic mountains that begin at the bottom of the ocean, such as the Big Island of Hawaii.
Knew that I'd get a mention. Anyway, I mean, like I say, there's nothing backing this. I mean, for me to get my teeth into part of his claim, there isn't anything, is there? There's literally just the baseless assertions he's making. Well, I mean, I've pointed them out 2 or 3 times, but this is going to get boring.
That's the single biggest mountain on Earth, but most of it is below sea level. Okay. So
The most of it, in terms of the depression angle that you would take, would be with respect to the horizontal line of the sea, otherwise known as sea level. So you'd be talking about the depression angle to the seabed surface from the sea level that we're using for reference when we have the mean average of it to reference things' heights. So even in your outro, you're describing something that's high off the surface of a sphere Earth if you presume it's a pear that's chubbier at the bottom, and therefore a mountain that's in that area will be higher from the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. Yeah, again, all I can do is summarise the baseless assertions that he's parroting and rattling off without any evidence, because there's nothing else to get our teeth into here.
Chimborazo rises up quite impressively as a result of this. Whereas K1, K1 is like slightly higher than K2, and the entire Himalayan mountain range helps all the peaks out, right? So you don't see this major ascent from the base as you otherwise would.
Right.
So I'm just saying that's
meaningless nonsense with no backing in the form of evidence whatsoever.
That's what it looks like.
That's what it is when you just parrot out a load of crap that you haven't proved.
And at the top of that peak, you would weigh way less than at any other place on Earth.
No, you wouldn't. What the hell is he babbling about now? Etvos effect? Really? Is he going to scramble his way through Etvos effect in the next 60 seconds?
Not only because you're farthest from Earth's center, you are also near the equator, and the spinning Earth is trying to fling you off. So there's a centrifugal force as well.
No, there isn't.
Okay.
Right. So good job we summarised this at the beginning of the show, eh? So why would we as flat earthers have to make a positive claim when it comes to some things go down, some things go up, some things remain neutral? Well, because the globe earthers have a positive assertion that there's a force that's going to fly you off that's being counteracted by gravity, leaving you at 0. Also known as 1g at the surface, because you're being pulled down by a bent geodesic in a 4th dimensional space-time that's not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Therefore, it's an emergent force that holds you to the spinning water ball, flying through the vacuum. Go on, John.
Oh yeah, like I think he forgot his own rhetoric. He knows that there's no such force. Why is he invoking it? That seems a little bit insincere.
No. In this example that he's disseminating, although reified into your physical reality, is the not actual force of the 4th dimensional space-time he knows that Einstein created 108 years ago when it superseded the mass-attracting mass force that he could be alluding to, but isn't, because he knows that he's thinking of it as a force, therefore it's the emergent force, John. Obviously.
Yeah, that's sketchy, isn't it?
So that is the lightest you could possibly weigh relative to if you were standing on the North Pole.
Well, I'm going there as soon as I can. Just told me my next place to live.
Just to lose some weight. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Listen, it's so much better than what I'm trying to do now. Yeah.
But if I just plunk you there, you'd have lost weight, but you would not have gotten any smaller.
Well, you can't have everything.
I mean, what is this? It's not even that funny. Gotta be honest, lads.
Because, you know, Weight Watchers is really mass watchers. Right? If you want to.
Really? Do you want to define what mass is for us so we can see whether or not people who go to reduce their overall BMI, body mass index, well, you're going to define what mass is for us then, aren't you?
Lose weight, you can just go to the top of a mountain or just go into space or go onto the moon. You'll lose weight there immediately. But
there you go. There's advice for all you fatties out there. Just go to the moon. Dead easy. Tyson told you.
But you'll still carry all the fat that you might have been trying to get.
Bummer. There's always a catch, isn't there? You know, 1 minute you think you can solve your fat problem by going to the moon because Tyson says so. But then he says you're going to take it all with you. Shattering your illusions. Bastard.
Get rid of. So really, like I said, Weight Watchers is a mass watchers. You want to lose weight, you're really trying to lose mass. I'm just trying to put it out there. We got to go.
All right.
There you go.
That was very cool. Very cool.
Oh, I loved it. I say, I listened to your shite. I didn't question any of it. I was led beautifully. I laughed at all the right places. I talked crap when needed. I've done a good job. I'm very happy.
Chuck, my co-host in all these matters, especially the explainer ones. As always, keep looking up.
Yeah, jolly good.
You know, I don't want to be that what you call ad hominem guy, but I've noticed this from the time Flatsoy did a video and slowed it down and did the freeze frames like you're doing. But I have never seen a still freeze frame ever of Neil deGrasse Tyson ever where his scleras were not pink. I don't know. I'm not trying, you know, I'm not trying to allude anywhere, but his scleras are never white. I don't know if it's allergies, alcohol, weed, even his slurred speech sometimes. Now I know Chuck has admitted on stage as he's done his little comment that, you know, he's a pothead backing down. I don't know if he still is, but Neil deGrasse, I can pretty much guarantee you, other than allergies or whatever it is, he has no other excuse for having pink scleras all
His
the
name is
time.
Neil Smoking deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, but that's not a
Has been
that's
named by
not a
me.
yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's not said to be just to be sarcastic. I mean, come on.
What are you
If he
moaning
come
about?
into a
What are you
job
saying
interview
he's
with them
got?
eyes,
What are you saying? He looks like a stoner.
he looks like a stoner.
No, what?
1000%.
No offense, right? I don't care. If he had a massive heroin addiction, I couldn't give a crap. Like, literally, I don't care. Those sorts of things are just inconsequential to the discussion points he puts forward.
I know that. I know. I just had to say it.
I only do it because I only highlight it because it's something that we get. If Brian was here, he'd be backing me up right now and he'd be all over this. That's what they have to go with, right? That's what they lead with. Personal attacks, ad homs, appeal to somebody's personal life or whatever it is they can get their hands on, trying to get hold of your job, trying to get you fired. That's what they go to. We, like I said earlier, have to be hyper-specific. We have to focus on his argument. Yeah, it's okay to speculate a little bit about whether or not he's being used as an instrument as a black man in a community that's more maybe empathetic to a black man in that position, maybe not. That's interesting to an extent to, I don't know, shoot the breeze with, but ultimately all we're interested in is his dissemination of how, when considering Earth as a sphere, because you've taken flat Earth elevation angle measurements and derived all the concepts he describes with latitude and equators, then you can presuppose that the values are bigger at the bottom, therefore anything in South America is going to have a higher mountain peak when measured from the centre of a sphere Earth. Therefore, I can give you a top 10 of the highest mountains that if you look up any textbook on how high mountains are with respect to sea level, another concept he also disseminated, that's not right. Isn't it amazing how knowing how spherical Earth is means that everything goes topsy-turvy and even the heights measured off a flat plane suddenly aren't right anymore? Isn't that nuts? Wow. Anyway, we've got no more time for you. By the way, you could lose fat if you went to the moon. We'll focus on all of that rather than his blackness or his fatness or his upbringing or how bloodshot his eyes are or how good his marriage is. Who cares?
Nathan, just because we saw
I agree.
doesn't mean he's a stoner.
Did you say I do? D-Rose, I do care. Is that what you just said?
No. So I said I agree. I agree.
Oh, you agree?
I
Yeah.
just, and that's why my premise was, I know I shouldn't do this. I know, but it's just something that I noticed. Not that it makes relevant, because he could be a flat earther and have pink eyes, and that would be something not fair for them to attack. So I redact that, but I just wanted to bring it to the view that, is it just me, or why do I'm the only one that don't see him with? I'm in the eye field, and his eyes, his scleras are never white. That's all I'm saying,
But
and
it's
that
it's it's it's
indicates.
like what they do in politics, right? Who's this guy running for government? Quick, spin every word he's ever said publicly. Quick, dig up every bit of dirt you can on his past. Quick, make this person, this character, this individual look bad as an individual, as a character, as a person. Forget about the policies, forget about what they've done, forget about what they've achieved. Focus on whether or not he was sleeping with hookers 20 years ago. That's important stuff. Go dig, right? That's what we have to endure. Now, every person, doesn't matter who you are, you don't have to go to any biblical rhetoric to know that inherently everybody's got skeletons in their closet. There are no exceptions. If you think you're that guy without skeletons in your closet, stop kidding yourself, right? Nobody's different in that regard. Nobody's perfect, right? There are no bad people, just lots of bad decisions that people make. And often they will usher those into a corner of their mind that they can easily forget about. And in many ways, this is very subject specific, because that is a benefit, as much as it's a weird spin to put on it, that the heliocentric model does offer you, the devout religious attendee at the Church of Heliocentrism. What does it offer? An ability to make that which may seem important when you bring it to the forefront of your mind because of your shitty behaviour less important. We are in an ever-expanding, super vast nothingness, and you, nay, the earth itself is merely a speck of dust flying around this infinite, ever-expanding, vast nothingness, with an occasional, very hot or very cold little rock flying around a little light that might be enormous, but in the scale of the big wide world that we find ourselves in, we are but insignificant specks of dust. And with that in mind, when you screwed over that old lady for her pension, it doesn't matter, lock it in a cupboard, who cares? It's not that important. You're not the scum of the earth scumbag that you might potentially realise you are if you dwelled on those skeletons. Right. Now, with that in mind, the person that comes along and starts disseminating how a wrong in society is being foisted upon a mass group of community members, they, the individual, highlighting this problem that causes ramifications for other high-ranking officials, might be easier to subdue if you attack the man. Because the general Great and Wash will go, so he's a bad person, saying there's a wrong going on in our community. Well, he's a bad person. Let's ignore everything he says because we're dumb. Now, that tactic is all we get. That's what we get as flat earthers. Oh, he's a flat earther. Look, he does this, he does that, he is this, she is that. That's all we ever get. Rather than, oh, he's a flat earther. How does he prove Earth is flat? How does she debunk Earth as a sphere? Let's have a listen to that. That's not what they do. Their first instinct is to spin doctor their way out of it by attacking the man. Wish Brian was here to follow up that little ramble beautifully. Brian, if you're out there.
That was
Well, I
eloquently
mean,
said, and I get it.
what other
Get it.
way is there to feel when you have people like Dr. Michelle Fowler tell you things like, there is no such thing as life, really. We're a bunch of chemical reactions that became complex enough to become sentient. I mean, that's a very hopeful message, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, seeing that rock, that's your ancestor.
Back in the day when you went out scrumping for cars and smashing windows and stealing the stereos, yeah, just block that idea back and you're just a rock. Who cares? Yeah, that's the attitude you can have. That's the benefit of heliocentrism. And I believe, as much as we don't like to speculate here, that much of the projected pain that we get from our opponents is as a consequence of them having to potentially face their own demons. If you realise the answer to the ontological primitives, this isn't really speculation, this is fact. You are then left with the dire circumstances of having to assess your own monsters. If you realise that there is an external entity that has created everything that you know, that is eye-opening to the point of fear and rebellion and, you know, general childish behaviour that we see from our opponents when they have to face the reality that there are consequences to their actions.
Right. The carpet gets lifted, all that dust and dirt that's been gathering under there suddenly blows up, and you get to see and smell it all.
Right. And they see us as the people lifting up the carpet, which is easier. Chucking out the carpet and getting a new one, dusting out all the old crap and letting everybody see it fly out the windows, or shooting the guy pulling up the carpet in the back of the head quick sharp. Metaphorically, we're the guy pulling up the carpet, aren't we?
Right, and they're trying to glue it back.
Yeah, they're trying to glue that scrappy, falling to pieces carpet back in place quick sharp. Because everything else is on top of that carpet, and it will all have to move if we have to put this carpet out of commission. We don't want to do that, and you're ruining everything. It's a lot of work to put another one back in place. And to be perfectly honest, we haven't even got a new carpet to replace it with. So we want this old carpet's got to stay. Stop pulling it up. You're making a mess. That's what we are, basically, to the establishment and to your average Joe Normie who just hears us on a cursory listen. No, they're just messing everything up. Therefore, ridicule them. Hence, we are like the gingers of the community. Maybe that doesn't make sense worldwide. In Britain, gingers are like flat earthers. You're allowed to take the mickey out of them. It's just socially acceptable here. Ginger! Nobody will bat an eye. That's normal here.
I think that's everywhere, by the way.
I don't know if it is universal. It might not be. Certain countries don't have gingers, do they?
Well, there's
Over here, you would say
there's not a lot of ginger-only countries that I know of.
Maybe there are some ginger-only countries. I mean, we've got Scotland up the road from us, but I'm just saying there are countries that don't have any gingers. Those lucky, lucky, lucky countries.
Over here, you would just say you're getting treated like a redheaded stepchild.
There you go. Exactly. Milkman's daughter and all that. Anyway.
Absolutely nothing against gingers. I find a lot of ginger women very attractive.
That's nice. Thank you. No need to simp for the gingers, Arwin. I'm sure you'll find love eventually.
Aaron, I concur. I found quite a few. I met one in Ireland airport back in my day in the military. Yep.
Okay. Right, we're going to pretend that this is the end of the live show. Like yesterday, I'm just going to basically be stress testing this computer to make sure, although it's not as hot as yesterday. But things have been turned down, and I want to see that it won't fall over in future live shows if I happen to stress it with other software. So pretend that this is moving to the after show, and if you're a mod in Discord, please can you move everyone to the after show, and just pretend we've done an outro. But with that, I'm going to say, in case we do have a computer crash, a massive, enormous, huge thank you to both Discord and Cheapest Panels for making today's live show possible. Stay tuned if you're watching live or on an after show, because there will be an after show to follow for both of you. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you for tuning in, liking, commenting, smashing the super chat, and all that good stuff. Dun, 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 dun. So yeah, good show. 10th always comes up with the good videos.
Hey, back to Tyson. Was he implying that water bends or curves by saying what he was saying?
It's just saying that the world falls away from you when level. You know, his only magic trick in that one was to move his hands in a curved gesture in the peripheral vision of the camera from left to right and right to left, whatever you want to call it, while saying level. So level to him is curved.
Yep. He's just working with the presuppositional world where everything is assumed to be a sphere. So if you're measuring it flat, it's still a sphere.
What about yesterday's video where the bicyclist had to go to a place in Saskatchewan to find 87 miles of pure flat in order to do 2 sundials. Was it falling away there? 5,000 feet of bulge? Where did that go?
But you don't get to
Exactly.
see the bulge. You only get to see the angle of the sun change because you moved over a sphere, according to
No,
him.
he said that was all flat on a sphere. So 87 miles all flat on the sphere.
Yes.
And yes, because if you do the radius that they claim the sphere has, that's 5,000 feet of bulge that wasn't there.
Well, when he says flat, he actually means almost flat in what is it, in geometric composure of the sphericity. So flat is actually spherical.
Hold on.
He had a level. He had a level on each one of those sundials. A level.
Yeah, that's spherical too.
The unique thing about a sphere is there are no flat surfaces on a sphere.
That's correct. And that's why they just call it flat, because it just happens to be measured flat and all that. But it is
If
spherical.
there are no flat surfaces
They
on
don't
a
have a
sphere,
word for that. That isn't flat, right? So they're just using the old flat vernacular based on the actual site and measurement. And then they're just adapting it to the globe model in which there are no straight lines, right? But they don't really have words for that. So they're just going to use the flat vernacular because it's easier.
In the Black Swan, the horizon distance is well beyond 9.41 miles. So at 10 miles, Earth's radius would be 263,000 mile radius. This was 87 miles of flat. What's the Earth's radius now, Mr. Bicycle Rider?
Still the same. You know it's a sphere because it's measured flat. Right? Doesn't matter. The sun angle changes, so that means it's a sphere, even if you moved in a dead straight line. Doesn't matter. I mean, this is not news, guys. Hello?
Let me translate for. Let me just translate.
Now I know why. Now I know why you like ginger people.
Why?
Like your globe, they're in ginger.
Man, we've lost your satellite.
oh no, we need the 10th man back. And I'm tired of using the word flat. Well, actually, I'm glad they used the word flat. Keep going.
Well, just like I said, allow me to interpret, so they could be more coherent for all the listeners what Aaron just explained.
I'm glad I stayed live for this.
Hello?
Hey, Arwen. You going to save
What's
us from
going
this
on?
dead silence?
Yeah, it was my connection got lost or something. Really weird. Where?
So did mine.
Yeah, like there was this weird spaz out with the connection somehow. Anything on your end, Nathan?
No, it all seems fine.
Huh.
Anyway, I think it's a perfect excuse to have lots of dead air. That's always good.
We were talking about
I've learned a lot.
how you know it's a sphere because it's measured flat.
I've learned a lot today. Curve means flat, and flat means curve.
No, not really. Curve doesn't really mean flat. Flat doesn't really mean curve. But when you're talking about flat, when you're talking about globe cosmology, well, there is no flat lines. It's just more convenient to explain it like that because then the actual measurements fit. That's all. So you measure the flat, you think of it as spherical, but you still address it as flat, and then it all works.
That was a good outro you did, Nathan, on heliocentrism.
What about it?
Well, it's the whole thing. They can ease their conscience because they don't think they have to give an account for their actions, as scummy as some people live. If you're like, oh, when I die, there's nothing. And heliocentrism is made for them.
Right. They even have a term for it in Scientology. Do you know what they call it in Scientology? Dropping the body.
Ginger.
Drop the body, they say.
Gingers.
No, Scientologists.
What? Yeah, and gingers do actually have souls.
I'd seen a definition for it the other day. I looked it up because I didn't know, other than the obvious, superficial thing. But it said they're soul suckers.
No, they're not.
I'm just saying that's what the definition said.
Of a ginger?
Gingers they're random soul suckers. That's what it
Daywalkers.
says.
You're thinking of daywalker.
That's
thinking
not
of
in the
daywalker.
dictionary.
I think that's ginger beer you're thinking of.
Yeah, that sucks.
And they can say they're daywalkers.
Yeah, daywalker.
Well, they're not very good at it because they get burnt really easily by the sun. So they're not much of a daywalker, rather the opposite. But I mean, I get it. I've known gingers, and
oh, brother,
some of them are really awesome and they have a soul, and others kind of suck and they're weird. And when you let them, they basically go suck off you like a vampire of your energy and like want your attention continually. So, yeah. But I mean, that's not all of them. Definitely not.
So you're not stereotyping the gingers, is what you're saying?
No, only like half of them. The other half is great.
What if you're like strawberry blonde?
Oh, half gingers. Oh, yeah. My mother was kind of half ginger, so.
Half ginger.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like semi-freckled, not fully freckled, but a little freckled. That's half ginger.
Man. So it has to do with freckles?
Yes, freckled and red hair. And when you're half ginger, you have reddish hair, but not full on red. And you have a couple of freckles. You're not covered with them, and you don't burn as easily.
So you have to have freckles on your face? What if you have a few on your arm, a couple on your back? You're still a ginger?
Well, yeah, or you could be half ginger. There's a lot of that going around. I mean, like most Irish are like half gingers.
Is Brian a ginger?
No, so then that means Brian's arguments half suck and half are good then.
If they're ginger, that means they're red herring.
Yes. Sounds like a Welsh fish slapping contest. But no, gingers are great. I like them. I find them really reliable. And there's like this unique trait from gingers that on average of all the types, gingers tend to be much more loyal in group formation.
Gotta go gingerly. My back hurts. We'll catch you on Monday.
See you later. Have a good weekend.
Good weekend. Right. And hey, Jesus was also a ginger. Although,
oh, brother.
That's not true. You can't validate that.
Everybody disagrees. and disagree with it
validate
in
it,
a
not
different
just-
way.
I
Of
didn't
course.
disagree. I think it's widely known that Jesus was a ginger.
Well, I
thought
think
Jesus
that
was from
because
Brooklyn.
Jesus was ginger, that's the reason why they just allow gingers to be bullied.
Exactly. It's not explicitly stated, but it's very, at the very least, implied throughout the Bible. Is this sacrilegious?
Really?
No, it isn't.
Can you validate your claim that Jesus is ginger?
You being serious with that? Joe. Joe. Both of you.
Both of what?
Joe. No, demonstrate. You know what baseless assertions are?
It's over there.
Jeez.
He said it's over there.
So come on, you guys got to wake me up. I wake up, I get on here so you guys can wake me up. And what do I get? Gingers. Come on.
Yeah. Well, that gets stuffed.
Well, it's Freaky Friday. Aren't we supposed to be fighting or something? I don't know.
Hey, Huey, you didn't hear the video? The Tyson video?
No. Nah, I slept.
Yeah.
I slept in. Sorry.
Wait a second,
Wow, so you
Hold
come
on.
in late and then you complain about being bored after
Hold
you
on.
hear the entire event.
Hold on, let me solve this. Huey, for years when I was listening, before I came on, you would come in and the show would intensify and get even more interesting. What the hell are we getting now? You gotta
Ginger.
think of the people that no, because you're here. Now think of people that were like me 4 or 5 years ago, hanging on every word. So come up with something is what I'm saying.
Because
Yeah,
back in the
nothing.
day when QE would come in, we would be in the middle of a discussion where somebody's trying to tell us the hypothesis for a shoe is that it's
True.
a shoe.
That's true. You're right. You're right.
That doesn't happen too much now. Now we get, oh, it's just flat. So
And Jesus is ginger.
that's between you and Arwen.
Step right out of that. Huh?
I could say more, but I don't want to. I'll leave that to Adam when he's actually here.
Yeah, I know. You and Adam got the secret truth. You and him together. He's got the secret hidden knowledge. Forget about scripture,
It's
right?
not secret and it's not hidden.
Here we go. Here we go.
I know, Owen.
It's just out chanted. That's all.
No, you don't know the same Jesus. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know the fictional construct. That's illogical. That's right.
Your Jesus never walked on water, never was crucified, and never rose from the dead. So that's not the Jesus of the Bible.
Yeah, no, I follow the Jesus from which those words came.
And you're not following the same Jesus because from which those words came the crucifixion and the resurrection. So you can't separate them. So I believe his words,
Yeah,
but not his deeds. Yeah, but then it's a different Jesus. It's not the Jesus of the Bible.
Well, I don't follow that Jesus construct that's determined by hermeneutics from people over 1,000 years after his death to determine what he was supposed to be. Yeah, that's right. I just follow the words that he actually left behind.
I'm sorry. Did you say hermeneutics?
Yeah, hermeneutics or hermeneutics, if you want to not pronounce it correctly.
Not
You don't know what hermeneutics is, Owen. So that's the problem. And it's a shame.
Yeah, sure. I don't know what it is. Yes, of course I don't.
This isn't gonna end well.
Round
got-
one, fight.
I got this feeling.
Hey, I don't want to come off like well, I am
Yes,
a
you do.
rookie. I still consider myself a rookie. I'm not a sophomore yet, like you guys, juniors and seniors. But could you give me the mathematical breakdown of this heliocentric R value again, and with 1.22 and all that, and how that mathematics pretty much sets them up for putting their own foot in their mouths with the R value, 7/6 and all that. Just to change the subject and just to reify, brush up on
It's too early. I don't even
arguments.
understand your question.
Okay. Anybody else understand my question, or did I articulate it retardedly? I was saying, can somebody break down the maths on that again? 7/6, 3959, which means 6 feet from the observer's height. Yada yada yada. Please. Not you, Kiwi, because you just woke up. I know 10th would have jumped right in there. Is this mic on?
And with that,
I can't hear anybody.
Because no one's talking, Neil.
Oh,
I thought
my internet died.
I thought I just asked a legitimate question, and everybody just brushed me off.
Like I said,
why is
I
he
didn't hear
asking?
anything, so ask it again.
Oh, I'm just saying to somebody just to fill in the dead space and just to reify my knowledge so I can brush up on my articulation of the argument, the rebuttal arguments. Could somebody break down the mathematics that they claim regarding the R value 3959 relative to the 6 foot of observer's height, yada yada, which means 1.2, just break that down again and the 7/6 and all that, please. There's the silence again.
It's just a derivative value of R. What do you want to know?
Say it again.
A derivative of R that's straightening out.
He wants to hear the whole thing. He wants to hear the whole.
Just to fill in the dead space, of silence, and just to have a conversation. And it also helped me kind of just, so I like to hear things reiterated to me, so I can be like, okay, cool.
Is it modus tollens? Is that what it's called? The whole thing is the modus tollens or modus tollens. I get them all confused. Which one is the black swan?
Modus tollens.
Tollens with a T.
The T.
Got it.
I got a little can to kick around on that, D Rose.
Who's that?
It's me, Ginger Boy. Anyway, just a little can to kick around, like I say. So, Earth is a plane, yet still conform to 1.22, right? So, why do we see that way? it's a plane. Why do we see that? Height and vision limitations. So the globe tells you a story as to why you see the 1.22 formula, but they attribute it to an edge. We know there's not one, yet 1.22 still remains in vision perspective. Two different things.
Yeah, they hijacked it.
Yeah, they try to wrap it into one. Without the globe, you still see that. Okay? They're trying to merge the two to explain an edge. No edge has ever been seen. There's no edge ever been seen by any eyeballs. Never. Ever. No edge of anything, of any shape. So, what we do notice is things going out of vision. As we rise in height, we see more. Right? I mean, that was there before globe rhetoric. Just the nature of vision has always been there because of eyes. So that phenomenon has been around before globe rhetoric. I mean, we had to make sense of what we see. That's been done for a long time. You see what I'm saying? There's a division between the 1.22 that we'll all see. Things disappear to a vanishing point. It doesn't require a globe. That's my point. So D Rose, you were trying to... They're mutually exclusive except the globe will bundle them. One doesn't necessarily pertain to the other. Am I making sense?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Why do we see more when we rise up in elevation?
Why do we see more? Well, Neil, I mean...
Because the angle of incident basically widens.
It's just normal common sense without thinking too much. Normal common sense that you've been born with. Why do you think we see more? Why do we see more when we rise?
Same reason why if you're on the
incident increases and thus the horizon becomes further.
Exactly. Just like if you was on a big building that was the size and the helicopter pad was the size of a football field on some type of skyscraper.
Mm-hmm.
Standing on that platform, that helicopter pad, you won't really be able to see much of the distance of how far the end of the other end of that roof. But as you get on the helicopter and rise, you then see more and more and more and more of it.
Everyone notices that. There's not one set of eyes that don't notice we see more when we rise. Right? Everyone can relate to that. That resonates with everyone. If anyone says, when I rise, I see less or the same, that's not what people see. So that can't be said. What else do we notice? There's a limitation. We do see more, but do we see all? No, we don't. What do we see? We see the horizon rise with our eye as we rise, right? But we don't see all, just more. The limitations have always been known to vision. I mean, it's not perplexing, really. It's common. It's vision.
So you get into this heliocentric Sorry, man. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. What'd you say, D Rose?
That was chocolate.
Oh, chocolate. Go ahead.
Nah, I'm just saying I like how you're just breaking down basics, and it's like, yeah, nobody would think otherwise because that's just reality until you get into this heliocentric nonsensical argument where people will say, well, if it's not a globe, why can't I see forever? Why can't I see China from New York? It's like, are you serious? You can't be serious asking
Exactly.
questions like you
Well,
know,
if you, I mean,
it's like this
it's
argument
almost,
will literally take people out of reality.
Right,
it's
into the
almost like,
orthographic view. Sorry.
That's right.
Who's the guy talking, by the way?
2020 vision. 2020 vision.
Roto-Ox.
If someone, yes, sir.
It's just Chocolate asking who he was talking to.
Oh.
Yeah, what's up, Roto? I just want to
Hey,
to know
man.
your name.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, just fundamentals of vision, right? 2020 vision versus 2040 vision. That means if we're reading something, a person with 2020 vision can read something. It takes, a person can read something 40 feet away, where it takes another person, they have to be 20 feet away from something to read it. So if you're 2400 vision, that means someone can read something from 400 feet away differently than somebody with 2020 vision. So I mean, that's what 2020 means. There's a limit.
What about
If I may,
2010? Because
Roto,
my daughter had
if
2010
I
vision.
if I may, Roto, just to confirm what you're saying, and being that I've been in ophthalmology for 30-something years, 2060 would be if you and I were standing 60 feet from a stop sign, you'd have to move up 40 feet closer.
Correct.
To be able to see it.
Correct.
Whereas where I can see it, at that. And vice versa. 2020 means we're both at 20 feet and we could both see
Yes,
it.
sir.
But if you have
Yes,
to
sir.
come close, it's like a minus factor. Like it's a different differential in distance from standing from one point.
Yes.
So
Well,
I'm asking anybody.
so yeah, why did we get into 2020 vision? Anybody? Why was that getting discussed?
Because Roto
I
was
think it
talking
was
about.
pertaining to the black swan and the horizon, right?
Alrighty then. Well, I'm glad we cleared that up.
Yeah, it was. They were talking about the black swan. Did you hear me?
Yes.
I'm experiencing technical difficulties.
Yeah, it's coming across like everyone's really lethargic today, which I know they're not.
It used to be Freaky Friday. What happened?
I don't know. Freaks all left, maybe?
No freaky. Get Johnny Salami.
Is this going to be the flavour of the after show?
Nah,
Is Discord
probably
in here
because
by
all the
now?
extra shows. I mean, the extra shows have kind of like depleted everybody a bit, I think.
Yeah, it's computer problems that's led to this. We will get back on schedule next week because this is a win as far as I'm concerned. This computer did not overheat and did not fall over today. Normally it's one or the other. Either it falls over or it overheats and then falls over.
Woohoo!
Yeah, didn't overheat, didn't go over temperature at all. Did it? Let me just see. The CPU normally always does. 102C. That's nothing. That's good. I don't have to spend the whole weekend faffing with the computer.
News.
I'll probably round out shortly then, because this is obviously going to be the flavour of the after show today.
Ah.
What happened to Roto? He was going off.
Yeah, I thought that we were actually in a conversation.
Well, there you go. You thought wrong.
Anybody in Discord? Anybody out there?
Surely there got to be people in Discord that are tired of hearing us talk, that want to talk.
No, clearly not.
Alrighty then.
Alrighty then.
Maybe they are a bit lethargic.
That will be my cue to round out this after show then. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus Panels for making today's live after show and very, very short ever after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Promoing Streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!